All right, welcome everyone. This is a public meeting of the West Bend School District and School Board Curriculum Committee. It is 4:30 p.m. on July 7th of 2026, and we will start with introductions. My name is Melanie Ergott, School Board Member.
June Kruger, School Board Member.
Kelly Lang, School Board Member.
Adrienne Schneider, Program Administrator.
Erin Faust, Curriculum Coordinator.
Tina Van Roo, District Data and Assessment Coordinator.
All right, the first item that we have up for discussion is Career and Technical Education Curriculum Updates, and that will be presented by Timothy Harder, our Director of Facilities and Technology.
Good afternoon, committee members. So I have a couple things for you today. As a reminder, as we talk about career and tech ed, there are a couple pieces that are driven and also guided by the state, and also as we work with our partners, Marine Park Technical College, on a lot of our articulated classes. So you're going to see two pieces of today's changes and updates to our curriculum. They're minor in scope of a full curricular change or anything like that. The first item we're presenting is a couple tweaks to the articulated courses that we offer for our students, with a goal of always expanding opportunities for our students. As part of our federal requirements and state requirements, we are required to have one articulated course with both each of our programs of studies or pathways and some sort of way for students to earn some sort of recognized credential. 90% of the time, most school districts earn that through their youth apprenticeship or their work-based learning opportunity. We've quite taken it a step further in that we have used our advisory committee to also find ways to expand that. And there are two real type of certificates that students can earn. To them, it's the same thing. The two that are different for us is there's one that's tied to what's called Act 59, which is an incentive grant that the state gives us to implement these certifications that allow kids to then take that certification test and earn it. So things like certified nursing assistant is one. If we have students who take EMT is another. There are one in each one of our programs of studies. Then there's another layer of certificates that matters when Ms. Van Roo comes up and speaks, and we look at all of our data that goes to the state that are just industry certified certificates. And so we continue to drive those changes forward. So that's really what tonight's presentation is really about some articulation opportunities for kids and those certificates. Each of these recommendations comes forward from an advisory committee, along with feedback from Marine Park Technical College as we're working with their articulated credit pieces. So the first piece is as we go through the high school, some of our capstone classes, not just in career and tech ed, but other electives and other opportunities for our students, we run them on an every other year schedule. When we do that, we have students who then miss out on opportunities for articulation credit and so forth. So one of the ways is we wanted to bolster our manufacturing pathway is we worked with Marine Park this year to be able to articulate what's called MasterCam AB. It's a course that we teach here at our high school, have the equipment for, to be able to earn those skills and credentials through both the current course of automation, but also through the Metals 2 course. It's not that students are doing the same exact project or whatever else. They are learning the base skills with the equipment, have enough of experience to check off on those skills to earn those articulated credits through Marine Park Technical College. So this would just be another way of guaranteeing that articulated credit is offered every school year instead of every other school year. So the advisory committee and the team's recommendation is just to add that as an additional articulation opportunity under Metals 2. With that, in our technology and engineering area, we have a list of different certificates that we would add to certain programs of studies. Adobe Express is a certificate around the Adobe Suite software and Adobe Express software that our students can earn. We have two related to the automotive strand. One is a oil change technician certificate that would be offered in our introductory level class. So we've been trying to get more and more certificates down to the introductory and mid-level classes, which can sometimes cause problems of trying to make sure kids have the depth of knowledge for that, but the feedback from our business partners and our team at the high school is they could certainly see this one fitting as an entry-level piece. The other one is called SP2, which is a Safety, Pollution, and Prevention certification. The next one on the list is what's called OSHA 10, and there's also OSHA 30, which is a safety training for construction job sites and other different places. And then the last one on there is just a Miller Open Book Certificate, which is another certification around a welding pathway. So the Miller comes from Miller, who creates Miller welders and so forth. So they have a certification option there for our students to earn. So we would be looking to add those credentials into our breadth of credentials that we already offer within each of our departments. The next thing is in our family consumer science area. So as we work with Moraine Park, they often change course names, but the content doesn't change, and or this little one thing tweaks because there's this weird licensing agency in Madison that says this needs to change. That is exactly what this is. So over the last year and a half, the state of Wisconsin has embarked on a study and a change in their skills that are required to earn your early childhood teaching certificate. And so what that is looking at is when they make the changes at the state, Moraine Park has to realign that. Basically what they've done is they've taken what was TC Foundations of Early Childhood Education. It is now TC Health, Safety, and Nutrition. So a course change name with a couple of additional skills, but a majority of those pieces are tied to the course that is there. So in essence, we are asking, the recommendation would be to the full board, if you move that on at that point in time, would be that we are looking at a name change with a little bit of skill content change for this fall of 2026, and our students would be able to take opportunity of that newly articulated class right away at that point in time. With this change in skills and certificates, so we are looking at 3 additional pathway or program of study opportunities in early childhood. A mandatory reporting one, that is for the teachers and the staff in this room. That's the same exact one that we take here as teachers. There's also an abusive head trauma training and a student infant death syndrome or SIDS training that our students can earn. And so they would have those opportunities to earn those throughout the courses that we have at that point in time. In health sciences, as we work to, currently we have 2 articulated courses in our health sequence, our health sciences sequence at the high school with Moraine Park. Going through with our advisory committee and also looking at our current curriculum and the skills that we are doing along with Moraine Park, and our teachers spent a good ton of time with Brenda O'Brien, our career coordinator, and the Moraine Park team. We are able to, without really any big change, add in a articulated course in that program of study that when you complete it, I would end up earning what is called basic lab skills. It is a 1-credit course at Moraine Park Technical College. It fits into numerous nursing nursing pathways up at Moraine Park. It also allows a student to take that class here, take an additional phlebotomy class, and then a student could actually become certified on that at that point in time. And so really a 2-credit sequence that they need to take, we would offer their first one here for them at this campus on time. So which would be a good start for those students and provide a breadth of opportunities that we don't have currently today. The last, as we look at this, the last area is just some additional industry certifications. In business and IT, there are 2 of them. I will say the first one, when they said they wanted to add a Southwest Airlines certificate, I was a little worried what was coming my way. So what this is it is a professional communication certificate. So as a entire CTE team, based upon the feedback of our advisory committees, we have been working heavily around communication skills of our students in our electives in that area. That comes from writing emails to doing job interviews, etc. This is a employability skill assessment that our students can take around professional communication. And so the team has aligned it with the most appropriate class, which is the employability skill class at the high school. So that would be something we'd be looking at doing. And then we would also look to add what is called the Accounting Foundation Certificate to our Accounting 2 class. And so those are the presented changes that we would have here. All would go into effect in this fall as minor adds or tweaks to name and so forth, as we try to stay in alignment with the state and Moraine Park and give our kids some additional opportunities. So I'll answer any questions.
My question is there any cost to the district to providing these extra things, and
So,
how
yep.
is that included?
So some of those certificates do require cost. That is actually covered by Act 59. So basically what we bring in under Act 59 under CT incentive, we actually use that to turn around and purchase those certifications for our student. We actually come out ahead, and that money then gets invested back into our career and tech ed programming from feedback at that point in time. So overall, as we increase more certificates, theoretically we should get more money from the state. It is a per student allocation that earns a certificate. However, it is one of those that is capped at, this is the amount of the budget is. I can earn up to $1,000 per kid, but on average we get about $600 per kid a year who earns a certificate when they graduate.
I just wanted to say that was my only question about the cost, so I have nothing else. Everything looks great.
All right, sounds good.
I have a question, sorry. For the health sciences, you said there's the 2 health sciences courses that are gonna be merged into the one. And
For
it's,
health sciences, it's just if you take that pathway of 2, there's multiple courses there. If you take 2 of those, you will earn that certificate at
okay,
that point.
so there
in time.
won't be any extra, like, students have to change courses? They just get it
It
because
would
they're already
be- yep.
enrolled if they do both?
Yep. It
Awesome.
would be one of those ideas of if I complete these 3 courses, I earn that credit at the same time. Our autos program used to be the same way, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And it looks like will also be presenting the next item
So
for discussion.
just a very brief update as we move forward. So this last spring, our school board approved what is required for the state of Wisconsin, which is called the Education for Employment plan, and which underneath that sits an ACP plan. So we have an overarching plan that the district has worked on with a team of teachers over the past years. Now what really digs into is aligning it by grade bands. So we will be developing a team, and you'll hear some things from our counseling team talk about. This isn't in a siloed approach of this. It hits multiple areas from C&I to CTE to administration to counseling to our special education team will have insight in this. We will develop basically a functioning working team for our K-5 group, our 6-8 group, and our 9-12 group. And what will come out of that is updated resources, opportunities, processes that we're gonna follow, opportunities to teach kids, how we work with them around careers from what may sound weird is all the way down to kindergarten. Some of that starts with just, hey, in kindergarten and first grade in social studies, we learn about the police station, the fire station, the county building, the city hall, the park, et cetera, and some of those career experiences that exist in elementary all the way up through middle school and elective to eventually choosing, hopefully before they leave high school, what they want to do with their career at that point in time. So you hear different pieces of that embedded in a variety of different presentations, but just wanted to provide that's the course that we are going next, because I know counseling will touch on it in their work, and you'll see that tenant brought into other things that is brought forward to this committee and the board in the future.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? No? All right, sounds
very
good. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
All right, the next item we have up for discussion is the counseling curriculum cycle update.
Thank you.
Looks like Emily will be getting us started on that.
I will. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to present some of the work that our counseling team has been doing over the course of the past year. I am just going to kick off with a welcome to my team and preface a couple of things, and then I'm going to let them share kind of the journey over the course of last year. I want to say that, first of all, I'm super appreciative to the curriculum and instruction team. They've done an exceptional job creating and really establishing a strong curriculum review cycle. And at the beginning of the school year, as we were talking about the work that we need to do and how we need to interface with the E4E plan, we were trying to decide how are we going to do this work? What's the best venue? And the C&I team was like, well, obviously it's our curriculum review cycle. So I wanted to share with you that this process is something that our school counseling team intends to continue to replicate within the cycle, just like every other department is doing in terms of continuous improvement. So the team that I have here today to talk with you about the work that we've been engaging in includes 3 of our school counselors. I have Erica Becker, Sarah Kolpak, and Alyssa Biertz are here. And I'm going to pass it over to them, and then I'll just kind of jump in to answer questions or offer support.
I can be the Vanna.
Perfect. Alyssa Biertzer, I've had the I've had the pleasure of being at Fair Park Elementary for a long time. And so I wanted to start today by saying how grateful I am for my colleagues who you're going to hear from in a moment, as I know they dedicated a lot of extra time to make the most of our PD opportunities to engage in this Phase 1 this past year, and to bring our K-12 counseling team together to work through things. But really, I know how much time went into being ready for those days so that they could streamline the process. And so I am grateful for them helping us, stepping us through that. And also glad, I think, that we have a system like this to be able to, I think oftentimes on PD days, we were like, well, we don't fit. Like math is talking about math and English is talking about English, but to have a set process of how we can look at what we do as school counselors, particularly in the curriculum components as well. So I am excited to, with the work that we have done this year in the evaluate cycle, looking at regrounding ourselves with our mission and vision, and then the goals, and they're going to talk you through what the summaries of what our team came up with, and excited for the upcoming year where we can continue to move through it. I think it will really help us as a whole, and help our district and ultimately our students and families. So.
My sidebar back there was just checking which slides were mine. So, because we're not used to presenting like this, we're behind the scenes helpers. We're kind of everywhere, but not up front. So, in the process of doing this, we had a lot of support from Kelly, a lot of support from Aaron. And initially, we just set out to say, what is our actual mission? What do we want students to have experienced? We kind of asked the 1-year, 5-year, 10-year question. What do we want them to know or say about the school counseling program when they leave West Bend School District? And we came toward these phrases. We want to provide a comprehensive school counseling program, and that means very just well-rounded for every student that goes through our programming. We want to support and refine their academic and personal and career readiness success. Those are 3 domains that you're going to hear repeated throughout this presentation because school counselors are trained in exactly those 3 domains. And then when we drilled that down to be a simplistic vision, we want to empower. We loved that, verb, empowering students to realize their potential. Each one has their own potential, and one of our training expertise areas is in finding that individual and helping that individual rise to what they need for their success. And so that became empowering every individual to meet their blah, blah, blah. You changed it real fast. Okay. I just got the hug. Emily, oh my gosh, okay. Okay. So as you heard, there are 3 different domains within school counseling, and school counselors are well-trained, deeply versed in these 3 domains. We have academic, personal growth, and career readiness, okay? And we could almost recite some of our school counseling standards in our sleep. So when we set out to say, how are these standards being met in the West Bend School District, that was pretty easy for us to say, well, here in this curriculum in the elementary school and in these pieces in the 5-6 building and other ways in the high school, we were pretty readily able to do that. You'll start to see that there are overlaps, however, and that's where we had more of a difficult time finding some of the overlaps that happen when other standards merge and sometimes don't merge with what it is the work that we do. So for us, the academic, all of the things that make students successful, including their soft skills, their academic soft skills. Personal growth is all of our social and emotional training, and how we proactively and preventatively teach that to students, teach those skills so they're ready to use those skills when the time comes. And then career readiness is something that we're really excited to partner with Tim Harder in the work that we are doing with the E4E so that we have that graduated plan year to year to year to guide us and say, this is exactly, these are the essentials that our students will receive through a career curriculum. Now I'm ready, thank you so much. So when we started to dig deep and crosswalk all of our standards, we found that we are guided and overlapped by three really different areas. We have ACP, which you have heard about previously, with career exploration, goal setting, and readiness for whatever life brings them after high school education. In the middle, the school counselors are guided by ASCA. We call it ASCA for short. It's American School Counselor Association, and these are our standards. And then Wisconsin has their employability and social and emotional standards. So as we were engaging in the curriculum process and trying to do the crosswalk of which standard is met where, it was so much more difficult than just a math program, for example, saying, where do you master fractions? In what grade level? In what semester? There is no way that we were able to say, in what grade level do you master identification of your emotions? And how do you do that? In which class do you do that? And how do you master choosing the best career for you? We had a difficult time bridging all of these. And so the work that we're doing is our best attempt to get it right. Now I think I'm good. And then I think it's Sarah's turn. Okay.
Okay, so one of the things we needed to do in our evaluation stage is just identify some of our program strengths. So we just wanted to highlight a couple of ones that we felt we are strong in. So the first one is just our K-12 team has an unwavering commitment to supporting students, and kind of like Erica was saying, we are licensed professional counselors with ASCA training to ensure best practices for our students. We do have a board-approved cohesive curriculum in grades K-4. So that was a few years ago. We aligned the elementary curriculum and then brought it and received board approval. Our program is data responsive across all grade levels. So all of our counselors serve on intervention teams, so like our Tier 1, Tier 2 teams at school, as well as utilizing data platforms to drive any decisions that we make. And then one last strength we wanted to highlight is that through last year we did a CISA 1 program audit, and part of the feedback was that school counselors are valued across by parents and staff, so throughout the district. Another piece of this stage was to identify our needs assessment. So with Tim Harder talking about E for E, that kind of ties into this. There are 4 kind of main standards that drive E for E, which are the 4 on the screen. So students, we want to make sure can communicate effectively, collaborate well, they know how to learn, and then that they have a strong knowledge of self. And our team feels like we can be a driver to help partner with other places in the district to bring forth this E for E plan. And then we are also committed to, we don't want to just simply meet the state requirements that are set out in E for E. We want to go beyond that to ensure all students have success for a high quality, comprehensive experience. So in order to do those things, the 2 at the below are kind of what we feel that we need to do. So also, like Erica mentioned, we have 4 areas of standards, and we really need to drive into them and find what is essential. So what is overlapping between all of them, so we can determine what is going to be the most impactful for our students and target that. Once we know those, we want to also then ensure that we are in K-12 alignment. So our standards that we find essential are addressed through counselor-led or teacher-led and different student learning experiences. And then these, again, go into the actions of how are we going to do that. The first one is very similar to the last screen. So again, we need to first identify the essential standards throughout all of our bands that we're looking at. We also want to strengthen collaboration with ACP coordinator. So again, kind of partnering with that E for E program and ensure that we are strongly supporting that. And again, through student-led, teacher-led, counselor-led experiences. And the last thing we would like to do is establish a consistent cycle of review, so we can continually be looking at what we're using and make sure we have the best resources, high quality services for all of our students.
Because each level does have its own unique needs, we then further divided these down by level. Our K4 has now become a K5. And so we are going to use those essential standards and review what is currently working. It has been approved about 4 years ago now. So it probably is time for us to look a little more closely. Maybe it's just what we want. Maybe it needs a little bit of refinement, but we're going to take a look, ensure that that inclusion of grade 5 now builds to an appropriate level to include grade 5. That will include continuing to use the curriculum for this coming school year as is board approved, but potentially exploring some things that might need to be added, amended, reviewed for future use to really ensure that those curricular pieces now match those standards that are determined essential. There might be things that we have to give up or change once we highlight where those essential standards. 6 through 8 is in essentially the same place. They are also reviewing their social emotional, sorry, I forgot to add that in K5, looking at when those essential standards are defined, is our current social emotional resource meeting the needs to teach those essential standards? We'll be looking at that K through 8. So those are on both the K through 5 and the 6 through 8 slide. Right, meeting those essential standards and, just is it the best product for us to deliver that programming? And then the 9 through 12 are looking at those different types of experiences. So it's student, teacher, and counselor experiences, but making sure that the counselor is an essential part of driving those ACP standards and being very aligned with all of the programming that's taking place across the 9-12 building. And then reviewing resources so that the students, again, have that strong foundation so that they are able to be successful when they leave us. Good? Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yep, our last slide, this is the opportunity to ask questions, give feedback, and help us plan forward.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yeah, I look forward to seeing what you come up with as you continue to go through this process and, what decisions you make on the curriculum and whatnot. So thank you so much for the update, and we look forward to hearing what's next.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So the next item we have up for discussion today is the 2026-2027 assessment calendar, and Tina Van Roo will be presenting that.
This might be short and sweet. The assessment calendar is unchanged from last year. We are sticking with all of the assessments that we use for screening. So as a reminder, that will be K-8 STAR for literacy and math, and the pre-ACT for grades 9 and 10. The Ames Web Plus is the state screener for the at-risk for reading readiness, which will be applied in grades 4K through 3. And then all of the state assessments remain unchanged, which will begin in winter and continue throughout the spring. So all the systems are staying same, all the frequencies in which we give the assessments are the same, and we are looking ahead to having some consistency, which will be really nice for reporting and finding out trend information and such. So no action, but we would ask that you consider to move this agenda item to consent to the next school board meeting so it can be posted in the handbooks and the website and things like that. Any questions on assessment?
Nope, I don't have any questions, and I don't have any problem moving it forward as it's unchanged. And
Okay.
yeah.
Great, thank you.
I know you said consistency, which is great. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of shuffling. Forget it. As the kids
Are you
move to the
thinking about
different
the
schools,
buildings?
but it's going to stay consistent with the
Yeah.
grades, so it's a
So
non-issue.
The assessments won't change, right? If you're a fifth grader taking STAR, you take it no matter what building you're in. What we might expect that's kind of related to assessments will be the accountability report cards. So we'll get the accountability report cards for this school year in November, and it will represent the old configuration. The year after that will be a little wonky because of Silverbrook's change. So the data always stays with the kiddos. The reconfiguration of the buildings will be seen on the report cards over the next 2 to 3 years.
All right, thank you so much. All right, the next item we have is the annual notice of academic standards, and I'm guessing that will be Adrian?
Yep, I'm going to take the next few items here in Kelly's absence. So you have last year's academic standards that were provided for the annual notice, as well as this year's. Those are state statute required. We have local control to modify as we are allowed within the statute requirements. And so there are no modifications that we have made to what has been done previously. So if there aren't any questions, we would just recommend that you submit those to the school board for consent agenda item.
Sounds like I don't hear any objections with the others. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with that either, as it's the same as it was the last time, so. All right, and then the next item is the curriculum cycle recommended modifications.
I will. Okay, so in March, we came to you with some changes to the curriculum cycle based off of feedback as we were going throughout the year. And then in May, we met with our curriculum advisory committee and presented some recommendations to them, wanted their feedback. That team is made up of a representation of staff members from across the district, from elementary through high school, and different content areas. And some of them are touching the curriculum cycle in different ways. And so we were, just based on the progress of different teams, we had some additional recommendations for changes that we wanted to bring forward to you all tonight, and then forward to the board. Again, for a consent item if approved. So a couple of them to highlight for you, and I'll have my team chime in if there are things that I miss or misrepresent tonight. But the biggest ones are that, so in our elective courses, we have some teams that moved at different paces, and somewhat to be expected especially as we're dealing with teams that are representative of K through 12. In the document that was provided to you as like the document here, there are some specific notes that were highlighted with it. So in K-12 Phi-Ed, we are recommending a change to the curriculum cycle based on what was previously proposed in March, and that would be that they remain in develop and design phase 2A. They are going to be meeting in August. They may move forward into 2B instead of 2A, and but for right now, that is our recommendation for their placement. We have fifth grade joining our elementary schools, and so there are some changes happening inherently because of that. The fifth grade teachers the teachers of the fifth graders are going to be implementing much of what has been happening for the fifth graders at Silverbrook. So there's just some nuances with what is happening within the cycle there. Ninth grade specifically, they did do a course revision in Fitness for Life. So there's kind of just that little outlier there within the physical education department. So that is specific to Phi-Ed. In music, you will hear a little bit down the line here in the agenda item. You heard from last month K-5 orchestra, K-5 music and 612 orchestra about a resource recommendation. So we are separating them on the curriculum cycle to identify that they are moving at a little bit different timing than is the rest of the music department. So K-5 music and 612 orchestra would be going into implementation year 1 of phase 3 for next year, while the other parts of the department will be remaining in phase 2. So that would be the change in music. And then in art, they are advancing into implementation phase 3. So there isn't like a new resource that they're adopting, but they're implementing some changes into their current instruction that they've worked through this past school year. So that is specific to kind of those elective courses or specials courses. And then the last change that I want to highlight is in the social studies department. 612 social studies needs just a little bit more time in the evaluate stage of phase 1. They will likely move into phase 2 at some point during the school year, whether that be a resource revision or a resource recommendation. That will be the decision of the team as they complete their evaluation phase. K through 5, though, is ready to move into phase 2 of a resource review in develop and design. And so we're ready to split apart those two groups so that the K through 5 team can move ahead. And we don't want to push 612 faster than need be. So those are the 4 specific changes to what would have been presented to you back in March. Team, was there anything missed? Okay. Questions from the committee?
I think it makes sense that the chart would kind of be fluid because I'm sure there's things that would come up in different sections or grade levels or whatever that might make it change. So I think that would be, like, that's expected to me that it might change a little bit over time. But thank you for your update.
So with your blessing, we'd like this just go to the consent agenda at the next board meeting. And then as we go through next year, it would kind of follow the same process if there would be changes needing to be made based on teams, how they're moving through the cycle.
Sounds good. Does anybody have any objections to moving that for consent? No? All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
All right.
All right. And then it
I'm
looks
going
like
to stay where I am.
you do the
Go ahead
next
with
item
next
here, the
item. Yep.
3K through 5th grade curriculum.
So last month, Ms. Downs shared with you the 3K through 5th grade curriculum and provided a note-taking document to you to kind of utilize as you needed. Wanted to jot down questions you had, any feedback, recommendations that you might have about those documents. So tonight, our team is here to receive any of those questions or wonderings that you might have, recommendations. And if there are none, then our recommendation would be to move that forward to the next school board meeting for discussion. But we are open to any questions that you might have had as you went through those documents.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not sure where to start, but so overall, I really like the overview. I like how it indicates the course overview at the beginning, or I forget what it's called at the top of the chart, and then it goes through all the units. I really, really like that. I did see a couple, let's say example in the 4K, and throughout, I noticed it in just random other documents where there was an assessment, an evidence assessment or indication that they learned what they were supposed to. And several of them indicated, like, for the formative, it would say like TBD. Is that just a placeholder for now, or when will that be known and filled in?
Yes, so several of the teams, so one of the things, especially at the elementary level, our elementary teachers, if you recall, were working through the required reading training this last school year. And so they did not have an opportunity to the degree that we would have hoped to really dig into that resource and revise and update. So if there were gaps, then that it is the intention as we go through this next school year, as they're working through essential standards and their PLC unit planning, that they're able to fill in and complete what is missing. So depending on the content area, there may be more complete documents than other content areas. So same could be true for 4K, for 3K, depending on the time allowed for them. So this too, much like the curriculum cycle, these are living, breathing, working documents. So they're going to continue to be updated and reviewed as the teachers are working with them. And then we'll continue to bring them to you for your review and approval, essentially. And sometimes with the, we're also looking at them from the essential standards. You heard the counseling department talk about that versus having 15 I can statements or, something of the sort. So the teachers are, the staff are going to be looking at these in a different lens to some degree as well. And so they may look a little bit different in the bigger picture down the line. So they will continue to be completed more as we roll through them.
Should I just keep going with all mine? Or, okay. On the, let's see. When I got to first grade and the math layout, there was a digital tool called Dreambox Math. Is that something we already own, or would that be an additional purchase?
No, we do have that, and we've had it for a number of years.
Okay, is that a way for students to learn independently if they're more advanced or slower?
Yeah, so we had Dreambox at the district prior to COVID, and then during COVID, it became one of the free tools that was put out there, and we found so much success with it as it basically diagnoses where a student is, and it can put them on an independent practice path. So we decided to bring that into K4. The year after, we added it to 5th grade. So K5 has been using Dreambox continuously as a independent practice tool. So most of the time, after the math instruction is done, and later in the day when the students have, it's called win time, whatever is needed, it's a station that they can do to get independent practice on any lagging skills they may have. So that is a K5 tool right now.
Okay, and then on first grade science, I noticed that just the name of one of the units was called Plants and Animals. I think it's referenced as new plants in the overview, just a really small. But then I started noticing a similar thing in the science area where the units were named different than what was.
Okay, some naming
listed.
conventions?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
little. So I don't know if that's a copy paste there or if the unit is actually going to be different. Wasn't sure.
So we utilize FOSS Science as our science resource at elementary. So we're a couple years out from a change to that. So that's something we'll definitely take a look back at to correct the naming convention of that.
Okay, and then just a couple notes throughout along those same lines that I've already touched on. And then in the 5th grade science layout, there was a link to a Google Doc. And when I clicked on it, there was a request for access to that Google Doc
Okay.
item. And so if that stays, just know you might get a lot of requests for access
Okay.
to that if you're looking at it. Mm-hmm. And that was generally it.
Okay. June, do you happen to know, and we'll look into that, do you happen to know if that was an assessment or if it was something different?
For the
You had to
Google
request
link,
access?
for the Google Drive link, it was in the 5th grade science, halfway through.
It's on page 4, under assessment, and then the formative.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I don't have like a lot of comments on specific things in the curriculum, but I like that we have this tool, for families to be able to go in and see what their kids are learning, and I love the transparency behind that. Like, the only thing I had written was like, I was wondering if we were still using Second Step, because I had heard that maybe we weren't, but then they just had presented today, so I got that question answered. I just like the transparency and the detail, and that families can go in and see exactly what we're learning, and so I think that's great. That's my only comment.
Yeah, that was going to actually be my comment too. I mean, I don't know how many people know that it goes into this depth, how many families. I mean, you can really go in and get so deep into what is my kid learning right now, or what's coming up. Maybe things are being planned and you're talking about things at home. And so I love the way that this is laid out. I feel like, if something happens, teachers are able to jump in and really understand what's coming up, what's going on, where they've been. So I love the detail behind this. I know that there was so much work put into this, and obviously things come up and things change, but just the layout for people that are not, like me not coming from the education side, it was easy for me to look at this and be like, oh, I understand the breakdown of all of these. So
Good,
really appreciate this.
excellent. Okay, so then from here, then we would just recommend for this to go to the next school board meeting for discussion, and then the subsequent one for action. Okay, so then the next layer of fun with this is with the 6th through 12th grade curriculum, which is next. And I'm sorry, am I jumping ahead? Do you need to formally announce that on the agenda
I
item?
think it's fine for this meeting. Yeah, we're good.
Could tell I'm not well versed in this Robert's Rules stuff. So, so tonight now, we're bringing forward to you the 6th through 12th grade curriculum documents. And these are, there are many layers to the 6th through 12th grade, as you can imagine, as you get into, especially at the high school with all of the elective courses and the content areas and just many layers to it. So again, follows the same formatting where you've got your broad goals, you have your essential understandings, the assessments, vocabulary, the resources. And so Kelly Downs had emailed you earlier today with a note-taking guide for that, and it is our intent to come back to you at the August curriculum committee with to receive questions, suggestions, knowing, with wondering the time and effort you put into looking at the 3K through 5th grade. If you feel that that's enough time, if you would like to have an additional amount of time to go through that, or if you feel it would be adequate to do that in August. I believe the meeting is on, I think it's on the 6th, something like that. 4th, thank you. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The only thing to note, and Ashley, please correct me if this is not accurate based on an email that I saw come through but did not read yet. As you know, the board just recently approved the purchase of the ELA resource for 6th through 10th grade. So what is currently in the documents is the previous units, all of the things. Ashley has updated it. So there you go. So you have what you need in front of you. So with that being said, the teachers have not looked at that yet. So they're, as they are living it and breathing it, there may be changes to that, but that would come to you at the end of next year for an updated look at. So, all right, so shall we plan to come back to that item for your review in August? Okay, all right, excellent. Yeah.
We'll move on to the next item then. It is K through 5 music curriculum cycle update.
Okay, so pretty short and sweet on this one. So last month you heard from our K-5 music and our orchestra staff with their recommendation to move forward with public viewing on their resources, which are Quaver at the K-5 level and Habits of a Successful String Musician for 6th through 12th grade. And so those went out for public viewing June 3rd through June 16th. We did not receive any public feedback from that, the viewing that was done. So we have a recommendation to move forward to the board for their discussion. And that is all.
So is that for just the K-5 one?
Yep, so it's
Yeah.
K-5 Quaver, which would be a secondary resource for them. It was to complement, give them a repertoire for like concert music, and also complement what they're doing with instruction in the classroom, and then for 6th through 12th grade for their orchestra instruction.
Okay. Yep, that sounds good to me. Looks like
Alright.
everybody's in agreement.
All right,
Great.
and that is all we have for you, I think, tonight.
All we got. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. And looks like we've reached the end of our agenda. So I would go ahead and close the meeting. It's 5:20 p.m. Thank you.